Synthaholics.
Discovery of malaise. General malaise.
All the Lay's chips.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and David Duncan. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how's it going? We got our wish,
Good.
kind of.
Our wish has been granted, but not the way we wanted it.
We got Monkey's Pod.
We do. We got Monkey's Pod. That's right. Today, everyone, we are talking about the Star Trek Discovery episode, The Sanctuary. It is Season 3, Episode 8, first premiered December 3rd, 2020, and directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Riker himself.
Dave, non-spoiler real quick, thoughts about this episode without getting into too many details.
Like I said up top just a second ago, that we got our wish. We got the ensemble episode.
We did get it.
It wasn't all about Michael Burnham, finally, which was definitely a breath of fresh air. But at the same time, I think Star Trek Discovery is doing the Picard where it's trying to bite off more than it can chew. Like, this episode had like an A plot, a B plot, a C plot, and like a D plot. Like,
yeah, there's a lot going on.
I think they're trying to do too much, especially since we're like past the halfway point now. The season should be starting to like come to a head, and they're just introducing all this new stuff in like the final act of the season, basically, we're getting toward the final act of the season, and they're just introducing all this extra stuff. And I'm like, why aren't we focusing on the threads that we've got? Why are we adding all these new threads? So it's an episode's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some really great sequences in it, some character development finally for some of the other characters, but it's just kind of all over the place. How about you, Aaron? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it does seem like Discovery and Picard both did this. Like when we were getting close to finding out what the burn is about, and in this episode we get into it some more, but it's like a side plot story. And they do this a lot. They just sort of like, oh, here's just something else that crazy happened. And I know there's a little bit of a reason for this, in which we can get into it, which I think they're introducing the big bad of this season of Discovery finally. And maybe it'll be recurring, too. Maybe we'll see this character over and over again in the next seasons to come, like Season 4. But it fell a little flat for me. There were some interesting parts and even a couple funny parts, but not anything to make me go like, wow, this is great. So, and like I said, the last two episodes, I loved the last two episodes. I loved the visit to Vulcan or Ni'Var,
yeah.
and I loved the scrap planet, the junkyard planet that they went to, that adventure sequence. Those were fun. This one didn't do a lot for me, and I'll get into reasons too. I thought it fell a little flat as well. So, okay,
yeah, I don't know. It's just I just think I agree. It does feel like it fell a little flat, and they're trying to do too much with too few episodes.
Yeah. Well, let's get into full spoilers, Dave. We're going to start off in Discovery, and we get Philippa Georgiou and Culber, and they're trying to figure out why she's having these blackouts and what's going on with a broke brain. And she's basically infected with rage.
She's being so much more belligerent than normal, which is like...
She hates doctors, apparently. She hates going to the doctor.
I guess she hates it more than regular humans do, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's like, fuck you, Culber!
Apparently, Terran emperors are like ancient freaking Egyptian pharaohs. They just bury all their cabinet with them and stuff, including the doctors. I don't know. I mean, that was fine.
I'm still alive.
That was fine. I can see the Terran emperors doing that, but everything else she says, pretty much for the rest of her time on screen, is just like Giorgio belligerent. Like, times 10. I'm just like, come on.
And then we get into apparently Book is gets a message from his home, and his brother Kahim is basically like puts out a message that I need your help. I'm in trouble.
I don't know about USA.
So the Emerald Chain is going to have. They're having problems with Emerald Chain, and this bad guy that we got mentioned to a couple episodes back, Osira. So, and I guess Kahim's been dealing with them for about 15 years, and they need to go, and he needs to go to help them out. And it's a long ride at Warp, so they're like, let's talk to the Admiral and see, maybe he'll let us do it. And the Admiral's like, nah, I don't really want to send Discovery. And it's like, what if we just watch what happens and we don't actually do anything?
What if we?
And it's like, that seems like a Starfleet thing to do.
Again, why aren't they retrofitting the spore drive? Why haven't they taken the spore drive?
Maybe they're trying to recreate it. I mean, maybe there's a lot more to. I mean, I'm sure it's not something you just like throw into a ship. You know?
It's something they can throw into their freaking comm badge, personal spore drive, like we thought about with Section 31. Basically,
what about the spear data? Doesn't that give them anything?
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't that give them like a leg up in the universe?
And the ship hasn't talked like with her sphere data voice again since the watch the movie episode.
Yeah, what about it?
Oh, it's just it hasn't spoken again. Like we haven't gotten the sphere data. Like they just keep forgetting about everything. Like the sphere data. Like why aren't they mining the sphere data? Why aren't they building in the 3 weeks or however long it was they took to refit Discovery? If that's like Giorgio's beginning of her spells. Like if it took them 3 weeks to refit Discovery, why weren't they like analyzing the spore drive and starting to? They haven't even made a line saying, "Oh, we're starting to integrate it, but until we do, we got to keep Discovery safe." It's just like we got to keep Discovery safe at all costs because we can't replicate.
I know it would have been nice if they just said, "Hey, we're studying your drive and trying to deconstruct or duplicate it, but it could take like weeks, months, or whatever." It just a throwaway line would be like, "Okay, we know they're at least working on it."
But they just keep acting like Discovery's the only ship that can do anything. I'm just like, why aren't they rebuilding Starfleet with this great technology? They're just like, no, we're just going to take Discovery, give it some new technology. We're not going to put Discovery technology in anything else. Like, why? And they also haven't brought up the non-human interface again since 4 or 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
It's like, why bring this stuff up and then like just drop it?
I don't know. So Admiral Vance kind of goes through this whole thing, what happened to Book's planet. Book's planet's called Quegens. One of its moon's orbits were kind of moved during the burn, and because of that, these things called sea locusts came out of the ocean and started eating all their food and leaving people to starve. So they have like this basically this locust, affliction on the planet. And so the Emerald Chain says we have this repellent that will push the locusts out back into sea, but you have to give us your tasty transworms in exchange. And so that's where we get this whole thing where Book was like, I gotta save the transworms.
Oh yes, all the transworms.
Yeah, so Venus doesn't want to send Discovery, but then he's like, okay, if you just watch, and if there's any danger, get the hell out of there. So, yeah. So, anyways, then we're back on the scrapyard planet, and we see the Orion kid that works for Osira that Giorgio and Michael Burnham had defeated when they did their big escape, and we see Osira basically kill him, put him in a cage, and have one of these transworms just eat him. So for his failure,
he escaped the ship falling on him, only to be eaten by a transworm. And how come the transworm that ate Michael Burnham didn't throw her arms and legs off like this poor little Orion guy?
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, his legs. I saw limbs go flying.
Yeah, all his limbs went flying, and Michael Burnham just was like, "No, I'm not going to lose my limbs. It's fine."
Yeah, she knew to tuck him in. So
tuck and roll.
Do the tuck. Do the tuck. So, and then we have next thing we have Saru talking with Tilly about all the ship's businesses and everything that's going on, and then we find out that he's trying to figure out his little catchphrase to when they go into
whatever.
Yeah. And so there's execute, there's hit it, and manifest. It's like nobody likes manifest.
No one likes any of the ones he delivered this episode. They were all pretty bad.
I liked when he said execute. I thought it was all right. I know everyone was kind of looking around, but I was like, execute. That seems like a Saru thing to say.
Yeah, fear me.
Well, I mean, the guy from Excelsior said execute.
Yeah.
And then we have a scene with Stamets and Adira, and they're analyzing data for the SB-19 data and all the black boxes, and they basically brought it down to this nebula, the Verubin Nebula, and there's this radiation and electromagnetic fields, and it's letting out this song. And we've heard this song before. It's a lullaby that everyone seems to be singing or playing, right? And the distress signal.
Oh, and a distress signal in the background for some reason.
So it is a distress signal that we're seeing, and it's through a Federation distress signal that they have to figure out.
To me, this was the most interesting part of the episode.
Was. I was like, can we just continue with this? Because this is what I want to find out.
And then then we don't hear about anything about this for the rest of the episode. I'm like, what? This was the best part.
And then we also get the whole thing with Adira addressing her not liking calling she or her, and that she wants to be called they, them. So I
feel like it's a little bit of a cop out at this point now that she's joined with the Trill, or they are joined with the Trill. Because of the...
It's a little different. Because, of course, she's they, them. Because she's
so many people now. I feel like the representation thing just kind of falls flat a little bit. Like, she should have mentioned this, or they should have mentioned this the first time they were on screen and referred to as she, because she's been referred to as she for every single episode they've been in.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I should say they felt like it was that it never fit her or fit them. See, I'm even having trouble. The thing is, I'm an old dog, and old dogs are hard to learn new tricks, but I still respect it. So if I mess this up, it's not because I'm disrespectful. I'm just trying to correct my patterns of thinking. But then she also tells him that tells Stamets that Gray is not around anymore. He's kind of like avoiding Adira. So,
I mean, they never explained why he was around anyway. So it just seems like
it seemed like they had a thing going, and they liked being with each other, and it was something to comfort Adira.
Well, no, but I mean, we've got no history of anything like this happening with Trill before.
But we've never had a human version of this. I mean, we've seen it once before in Next Gen, right? But we've never. But that was only temporary.
But I mean, the closest thing we had was like Jadzia having all her friends take on one of the hosts. But what happened with Adira is completely different.
Yeah, I know.
With Gray being around, so we never really got an explanation as to why that was a thing. And then
was Jadzia the one you're thinking about, the killer one? There was a killer or something inside of her. There was it was a murder mystery one.
That was Ezri. But
was it?
Yeah, that was Ezri. Jadzia, she had the episode where they had one of the female hosts being Quark, and Curzon was an Odo, and all this stuff like that. She could implant past hosts into other people, so she could talk with them like person to person. The thing with Gray is completely new for Star Trek. We never got an explanation as to why it happened, and so now that it's not happening, it seems like it's just Adira's just being like a Trill now, just experiencing the host a little bit different every day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just how Trills would.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I assumed when we saw Gray show up, it was a vehicle for storytelling of like Adira talking to the Trill symbiont and the memories attached to it. But I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
just a visual representation. I mean, obviously, when Stamets sits down next to Adira in the mess hall, that Gray's not actually there.
But to Adira, Gray's there.
Yeah, of course.
And now Gray doesn't appear that way to Adira anymore. So I don't know. Maybe just their closeness kept him around for a while, and then just kind of assimilates into Adira as time goes on, and Adira's not going to see Gray like that anymore, just because that's how trills tend to work.
Yeah, maybe Gray is like, hey, I got you through this part of the hard part of like adjusting to having the symbiont in you. Now you can kind of make your own way.
I got you adopted parents.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, because this is very much how the episode plays. That Adira is basically becoming Stamets,
the Wesley Crusher, the Wesley Crusher of the.
Yeah, Adira is basically Wesley Crusher, but at the same time, Adira, they are becoming Stamets and Culber's pseudo adopted daughter. Just the way like the scene later on plays, puts the coat over, Culber's like, oh, pride suits you well. Like Stamets is becoming a proud pseudo adopted father of Adira. That's kind of how the scene felt to me.
It does, yeah. It definitely feels like they're kind of like watching over, or them. So
it's just easier to say the person's name. I just find it very hard to refer to a single person as them, they.
I know, but I gotta get used to it.
We say they all the time, and when we say they, them all the time, we usually refer to like big entities like corporations and like multi-person things.
I'm trying to be respectful, Dave. I'm trying to respect new cultures, and it's
strange new worlds.
This is the pronoun thing is what, maybe 5 years into my recollection, something coming up. So this is like not something I deal with on a daily basis. I have had a friend that moved away, a person that transitioned, and great friend, actually, a lot of fun to be around. But they never asked me to address me in different pronouns before. So
yeah.
So, but I mean, it's just one of those things. It's sometimes you just got to get used to things changing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. Moving on, we get Burnham and Book are talking about going to the planet and how Book wished that Burnham could see the planet the way it used to be, and she's just happy to see her what Book's family's like. And he's like, don't get too excited. And so they are basically beaming down to the planet, and they're going to get to this place where it's like shielded from. There is like planetary shields that you can't beam in or out, so you can beam down and walk into it, I guess. But that's about it. Mm-hmm. So that's the plan is. So Burnham and Book are going to, leaving Discovery, and the rest of the crew is going to just wait up on in orbit and make sure that the Emerald Chain doesn't show up. But unfortunately, that's not what happens, because we get Osiris ships coming. So
dun dun dun! It's heavily armed.
Giorgio is getting more work done with the Culber, and she calls herself a human spermazoa in her white suit.
I'm a spermie. Spermie.
She looked good. Yeah. I don't know how old the actor is. Michelle Yeoh.
She always looks great.
I know. I don't know, but she looked great. Yeah. And then so they're basically looking at scans, and they're scanning her. And then we go forward to Adira and Stamets, and they do like a cello piano recital thing together. So I didn't know Stamets played piano. I don't think that was ever addressed before, was it?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think they've had time to have. The show's never had time for Stamets to have a character other than being grumpy. So
grumpy and getting infused with tardigrade DNA
and being in the spore drive. Yeah, it's one of the few times we've seen him do anything for fun. So it's great. He's a pianist, so he's not a cellist like O'Brien, not a flautist like Carrie Kim,
mm-hmm.
not a trombonist like Riker.
bonus. Or a flutist like Picard.
Yeah.
What? Kirk never played anything, did he?
He played the skin flute.
Yeah, I guess so. Nice. Then we jump over to Saru, and we get this the Andorian Ryan, who the one with his antennas cut off, who was escaped from the scrapyard planet, and he wants to talk to Saru, and he's basically saying that
let me go.
You let me go because you don't know what you're dealing with. Osira is going to, do awful things. And like, well, what do they want you for? And he won't tell him anything. So he's being kind of quiet. Then we get to back on the planet there with Burnham and Book, and they're on this forest area. And this is the sanctuary, apparently. Looks very much like Canada, wouldn't you say?
So much Canadian, eh?
There'd be like maple syrup taps coming out. Guy in flannel. Like some beer, eh?
Oh, they went to the green bathrobe planet, where everyone wears a green bathrobe.
They always wear bathrobes in the future. I would really love to see some flannel Canadians show up on this planet. That would be great. A Canadian planet.
We need a leisure suit planet.
Oh, that'd be nice too. Well, that was sort of like that place in Picard, right? Remember?
That's true.
It was sort of a leisure suit.
Where Rios was a space pimp who didn't have any girls or boys. He didn't have anything. He just dressed up as a space pimp.
Didn't have anything. Didn't even have like android sex dolls or anything like that.
Poor Rios.
Yeah. So then Book and Burnham are captured by the armed inhabitants, and they're taken to Book's brother Kahim, and they don't seem like they like each other anymore. So
no, not friends, not at all.
Yeah. And then jump back to Giorgio, and she's getting her scanned, and she's having what could be a cerebral hemorrhage over her bad dreams. So I don't know what is going on with her. They still haven't described.
They haven't described it. They've thrown out Culber's thrown out a bunch of theories. I thought the thing they did earlier was supposed to get her DNA, pinpointed, but I guess this new thing is also doing the DNA breakdown or atom by atom or whatever. But for whatever reason, she's too stressed out for them to finish, so they stop at 80%, and she wakes up and talks about how much she wants Culber's head mounted on her wall.
Yeah, I know, right? Back on Kuijen, I think that's the name of the planet, Book's planet. Him and Kahim are still fighting, and basically Book's angry that Kahim is selling the transworms to the Emerald Chain, and Kahim's like, I'm selling the transworms so we can get these sea locusts off so we can actually have food and we can eat. Like, what are we talking about here? And so Book basically and then we find out that Kahim basically got Book to come there, and because they need Rin, the Andorian, and they want to put him back into slavery. So that's one of the reasons. So Osiris set this whole thing up just to get Rin. Like, why is Rin that important? He was like a slave on a scrapyard planet.
I don't know. And the thing they reveal later makes no goddamn sense.
That just makes no sense, but it's more of a, that's the big secret? Like, okay, whatever.
That's not a secret. Everyone knows this. How is this a secret, of all things?
So Osiris shows up, and Saru's going to be like, act cool. Like, we're just observing. And Osira's not really crazy about what they're saying. So she wants the wanted criminal Rin, and Saru's like saying, I'm not aware that Rin was a fugitive to the Federation. And Osira's like, I'm not talking about the Federation. I don't give a fuck about the Federation. So it's funny because Saru is still operating under 1,000 years ago's rules or landscape, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Emerald Chain just doesn't give a shit about the Federation. The Federation is just a handful of ships, according to the Emerald Chain. So and they go back and forth, and basically, like talking about, I'm not going to send Rin into slavery, and she makes Osira makes a joke, kind of like, oh, leave it to Kelpian to bring everything into slavery. So,
is that still a thing? Like they know she knows Kelpian history from like 900 something years ago? Really?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he knows something about Kelpians. I mean, she's not an idiot, right?
I mean,
so they ask Rin to come to the bridge, and then down on the planet, Osira's talking to Kahim, and basically saying that obviously she wants Rin, but she's also like, hey, you got Book, so let's bring him in too, or something like that. So yeah, it's a twofer. So, but then Kahim's not going to do it. He's like, no way, I ain't going to do it. And she's like, okay, well, I'll just start opening fire on your planet. So
might as well.
And so they start shooting, but that obviously Kahim's like has the defense system on his planet, so it kind of protects him a little bit. But Book and Burnham just run out of there. They don't even I don't even know how. Like, where are the guards? They just took off. They just ran back off into the maple forest.
Run away! Run away! I have issues with all these torpedoes like hitting the planet. Torpedoes are supposed to be photon torpedoes are high yield explosives, and they're like laser bolts hitting the trees, and they just like jump and like they're okay. I'm like, torpedoes should like be taking out acres of damage, not just a tree.
And Osira does say, I'll be, what does she say? She says she'll threaten to burn 10 hecaplates of forest every minute that I don't know what that is. I don't know what a hecaplate is, but, hecaplates, but I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just more of those things. It's like, you're right. It should be like devastating.
Yeah. And this is 900 years in the future. These torpedoes should just be like, I mean, like they're less effective than a nuke.
Yeah, right.
These things should be so much more powerful than just like, oh, it damaged the tree, a small explosion, and they just jump and they're safe and they're okay. I'm like, no radiation, no, shockwave from a photon torpedo. Really?
Right.
Really? I mean, and they said torpedoes. It's not phasers.
No, they did say torpedoes. Yeah. Discovery, they bring Rand in to talk, and he wants to know what's going on with Osira, and he just won't tell him anything. So, and Saru's like, why won't you tell me what the hell's going on? Why do they want you so bad? And meanwhile, they're firing away on the planet below.
Yep.
So Giorgio gets like one of the electrodes that was stuck on her head, and when they were doing her test, and she starts looking into what was wrong with her, and but then Culber shows up.
Yeah. And she's like not even in a private quarter. She's like in the middle of a corridor somewhere on a computer console. Like, what?
Right. I don't know. It's crazy. So, and then back on the planet, Book and Burnham are running through the maple forest, and there's, like you said, things are getting blown up.
Very, very slowly with very little force. It's very bizarre.
Yeah. And then, it's kind of cheesy, to tell you the truth. It seems kind of like 1980s kind of action sequence, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I agree.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to send Detmer and Rin out on Bookship, because the Discovery can't engage in Osiris ships. So the way they said it, like that she's going to get punished. I'm like, are they going to like just say it was Michael Burnham that took it? Because Michael Burnham always goes rogue. Are they trying to get her demoted like more? Is Tilly now power hungry? Just wants to get Michael keep demoted so that she can keep her first officer place? Or are they going to purposely let Detmer get demoted? I'm curious at what their motives actually were during that scene. So, and I have issues with this. Like, how could, like, so, I mean, I don't know what Osiris ship is, how powerful it is. I mean, they said it was armed to the teeth, but Bookship is like doing, with Detmer flying, even with good flying, she's like dodging everything.
It's Star Wars. Don't think about it.
Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like, that's like a warship. It's like Millennium Falcon attacking like a Star Destroyer.
Well, it's worse. It's better than Poe Dameron taking out one of the biggest ships in the Imperial fleet basically by himself. He took out other guns in the beginning of The Last Jedi. Yeah. At least the Millennium Falcon's a bigger, more capable ship than an X-wing. This is
or an X-wing is a faster target, so maybe they can't hit it as fast. I don't know. I guess
Book ship is basically the Millennium Falcon though for Star Wars.
It is.
Star Trek.
It is Star Trek. Yeah, it is. It's totally. It's that.
The cockpit's on the same side. It flips around. That center axis
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a hard time with that one. I mean, I didn't mind Detmer being like a
badass
pilot.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with the weapon system on Book ship could defeat. I mean, I know Rin was like hit this spot, hit that spot, which that's another thing. Like if Rin was tortured and stuff, like how does Rin know all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe more information will come out. Maybe he worked with Osira closely at some point.
He said he's been in the junkyards wrong. He's been all over the ship. He was a slave, and he's had to do menial maintenance on all of her ships, so he knows them inside and out. That's what he said.
I guess, yeah. I guess it makes some sense. Yeah. I guess it seemed odd to me, but maybe it's just like anything. It's like if you know where to hit, the Achilles heel kind of thing.
It's like Picard in Star Trek First Contact. Just shoot this little area. It's got no important systems.
Yeah, in here. Yeah. It's like those aren't vital areas. Don't worry, just do it.
Don't worry, it'll work. Trust me.
And then back down the planet, Kamir can't go against his brother, and so they kind of like decide they're not going to. He's not going to turn him in. So all this was for nothing after they had a big fist fight and everything down on the planet. So, and then after Detmer kind of beats the Osira ship, and Osira kind of like warns Discovery that now we're going to be gunning for the Federation now. So don't you worry, your comeuppance are coming.
We're coming after you.
They warp out of there. I think they should. I think Saru should have just blown it out of the air if they shot Osira ship then and there, like, who's going to say what happened?
Yeah, get rid of the threat while it's basically weakened. I don't know, and then
neutralized.
And then another part
could fire like a shit ton of I don't know. It just that to me was like just kill Osira at this point. Like, I mean, I know why it is because Osira is the next big bad.
Yeah,
for a while.
For sure.
So. And then we get a whole bunch of Detmer is feeling better and talking in the mess hall, all the stuff that she did. So she's feeling great. So she got her confidence back, or maybe she shaked off some of that PTSD that she was feeling before. And then we find out from Rin that what the big secret is, that the Emerald Chain is running out dilithium. So everything comes down to dilithium.
A secret. It's like the whole point of the season.
Short on dilithium. Yeah.
I mean, the first episode, Book points out that the dilithium's like the super rare thing, and they're using it as like payment. I mean, yeah, we knew that, but I mean, like they're handing it out part and parcel for, ripping people off for use of dilithium. So I just don't understand why it's a thing. I mean, an episode or two ago, Admiral Vance said that the Federation, or the Vulcans of the Federation, was running out of dilithium before the burn. Like, this isn't a secret. This isn't a, oh my God, like a moment like they're trying to make it out to be. Like, he gives this information that everyone on Discovery should just know.
Right. Yeah.
Like, why is, I don't know, it was the dumbest revelation ever. That's why he's so important to what's her face.
There has to be something more. It can't be that. There has to be more. Like he must know like her like crack codes or something like that. To let her into all of her like secret files or something like that. Or
I hope so, because that was just the most underwhelming thing I've ever. This show has done as far as like a reveal.
Or maybe he's got like compromising photographs of Cyrus doing
She doesn't care. She's an Orion. She probably posts those freely.
Well, it's like, here you go. Later we get Book and Burnham and Kahim walking through the ship with Kahim's son. And what's his name? Leto.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Maybe Leto the second was just kidnapped.
Yeah, I know. He goes down to Arrakis later. Leto in Burnham go to take skin off Linus's face
because he was molting earlier. They mentioned he was molting.
Still gross. Like, why would you want to do that?
So the kid can wear part of Linus.
So we get a little moment where Kahim and Book kind of like make up, and they just talk it out and say, "Oh, you're still a good brother. You're still a good brother." So even though they haven't talked in 15 years, and as you mentioned before, we have Culber and Stamets talking over a sleeping Adira that they've been working on this algorithm to figure out where the center of the burn is and where to find that distress signal and stuff like that. So, and then Adira kind of wakes up and they're like, "I'm tired, I'm going." And so Adira bugs out. And so anyways, it's just that, like you were saying, that moment of pride between Culber and Stamets, like they're like almost like the parents or the parent figures.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a weird little scene. Didn't add a whole bunch, I didn't think, personally. I'm just like, oh, okay.
I kind of do like the Stamets-Adira relationship. It's like it kind of humanized Stamets more for me. I mean, we get moments of that for Stamets, even though he can be like a raging dick sometimes. But it's good to see that he can be like a decent person once in a while. So
yeah, I mean, like we only had like him being a raging dick like twice this season, which is like down.
It was more so first season, but it kicks up more and more every once in a while. His dick has these dick flare-ups every once in a while.
Culber has to look at it once in a while just to make sure it's not infected.
Yeah. And then we get an end sequence with Burnham and Book, and they said that his ship got hit by 8 photon torpedoes during the fight, so she's going to go help repair it. So,
what are all those little droids for?
Nothing. Leave them alone. She's got to she's got to fix it herself.
What about programmable matter? Just program it to be untorpedoed. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I'm just like, I'm going to go fix it manually. It's literally the Millennium Falcon. They're going to go work on it, hands on, just like Chewie and Han. Like, really. Yeah. And I guess Books wants to join the Federation now, even after he said the suit was the most uncomfortable thing he ever wore.
Yeah. Well,
it's worth it to make a difference.
I guess so. And that's it for the episode. Dave, thoughts about this episode, The Sanctuary?
I'm really glad they gave us that ensemble episode. I just wish there was more focus to it. Mm-hmm. So we had, I guess the A plot was technically going down to the planet. We had the B plot where Giorgio's trying to find out what's wrong with her, which we still don't find out. We've got the C plot where Adira wants to be called they, and they play piano and they work on the burn. And then we've got like the D plot with like Ren like having some deep secret that like doesn't make any sense, and there's got to be more too. And we've got the E plot where Saru really wants to come up with a thing to say. Like it's just like the episode's going, and then we've got the Ryan lady, who's going to be the bad guy of the series, and I'm just like, why couldn't we just like keep her in the background for the rest of the season, and just like have her be like the big bad next season? Like that would be kind of great. Like do a little bit. Like the most interesting part of the episode was when they were talking about like there's some distress signal. So did this distress signal start the burn? Like what ship is in there? Is it the Enterprise? Is it a really old Enterprise that's stuck in there? So is it the freaking J that it gets stuck in that ugly ass Enterprise?
Please don't bring back the J. I hate that J.
It's so ugly.
It's the worst Enterprise.
Yeah, I know, but like is that the distress signal? Like it's got to. I mean, I figure it's got to be some kind of like iconic ship, right? Mm-hmm. That's lost and somehow it started the burn. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of my feeling. I mean, it might just be some no-name ship, but I just feel like if this started the burn and it's been sitting off a signal for 100-something years, like what is this? Maybe it's tied to the temporal Cold War. Maybe that'll be what this is. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get the temporal Cold War. They haven't even dropped a hint. No. I'm giving up on my pipe dream that they're gonna be smart and go down that fun rabbit hole. I'm just scared the show's trying to do way too much. Like Picard introduced all these plot lines and they just forgot all of them I feel like they're kind of doing the same thing with this. They're just maybe they're tying the emerald chain into the burn, which I mean, I guess is fine. But I mean, just like why wrap up all your plot lines in a nice little bow at the end of each season? Why not have something?
I don't know if
on?
I feel they're. I don't. I hope they're not going to tie the emerald chain to the burn. I mean, maybe they will, but I mean, I felt was more. They're just sort of like the bad guys that are floating around. They're basically the thugs that have taken over the power vacuum since the Federation receded.
Sure, and I mean, I hope that's just the case. I hope they're not tied to the burn. But the fact that they're bringing her in now makes me worried that they're gonna tie her into it somehow. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about you? What are your more in-depth thoughts this episode?
Like I said, I kind of felt this episode fell flat. I mean, I wasn't really interested in seeing Book's planet.
Nope, I wasn't.
I'm not really interested in I'm not really interested in transworms. I know that's his passion in life, or trans slugs or whatever they are. I mean, like when he goes down to his planet, it's like I said, it's the Canadian maple trees. I mean, we know Discovery is filmed in Canada, so I mean, obviously it's
filmed in Toronto.
It's somewhere in Toronto, or it's in the outskirts of Toronto, which I mean, that's cool. It's close to us,
Yeah.
And the other thing is, besides Kaheen's office, which was a cool looking building, wherever that was, it had some cool like features to that place, but I mean, it was like. It was unremarkable, and I didn't really need much, I guess. And then like you said, like you were talking about the torpedo explosions were just like, okay, follow the ground now. I mean, it was like there was no like ground like exploding under their feet.
Well,
which really should have been the case. Like shrapnel should have been everywhere, like trees devastated. I mean, obviously that would throw the budget like way over the top,
Yeah, but I mean, like they did two different things. They were running away from torpedoes they clearly saw in the background, and they were just like barely hurting trees. And then all of a sudden they started falling down to the ground randomly when we didn't see explosions. I'm like, what's going on? It's like they're acting
on
opposite.
Top of all that, and on top of all that, they should be like, they should have been talking about the devastation it did to the people of the planet, So I don't know. So that kind of fell flat for me. I wasn't really that interested. I liked the Saru trying to find his catchphrase. That was cute. I mean, gave me a chuckle, more than once.
The funniest part was the Andorian grabbing the cat and like, what is this, a pet? What is it doing?
You see, that didn't do anything for me. I was like, whatever. But I mean, it was okay. It was fine.
I chuckled at that.
Yeah, I thought the attack with Detmer with Rin attacking Osiris' ship, I thought it was a little unrealistic, especially without support from Discovery, like laying down like cover fire or anything like that. But I mean, I know Bookship probably has shields and stuff like that. It seems odd that their weapons could pierce into past Osiris ship's shield, and
it was a scene right out of Star Wars.
I had a hard time with it. I mean, I know she's supposed to be like a great pilot and stuff like that, which is cool. I don't mind that. It's more of just
I mean, I liked seeing her shine. I liked seeing her go into a dangerous situation and not like space out from PTSD. When like turning the ship around has made her like pause and get scared in previous episodes. So like it's weird her going into this like super dangerous situation and being like way better about it. And I'm glad she's getting better.
No, I like that too.
And she got to talk. Like we got to see some character from her. We got to see the blonde who used to be Ariam. She got to talk and she had some lines.
Yeah,
she had some character.
Yeah.
Like we're finally getting to see some of these people talk and find out. Maybe not.
Just getting a little bit more. Yeah, had more of like a Sulu Chekhov moment there for a second.
Yeah, it was nice having them talk and like have fears or like ideas and like I mean, granted we're not learning who she is as a character, but like it's better than just her just being set dressing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all she's been. Like just like Ariam. Ariam was just set dressing until we had an episode all about her, and then they killed her. I'm like, oh, okay.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree completely. The Giorgio plot. I mean, I get they're trying to like. I mean, I think next episode it looks like we're going to get more of that information.
Yes, and Cronenberg's going to be back. I think that's the guy I'm most excited about next episode. That, and they showed a season 1 next gen uniform for some reason.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I saw that too, so that's cool. But it kind of fell flat this episode. I mean, the insults were fun. That's about it.
I mean, this episode just like pumped the brakes on like the last 2 episodes of progression.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't understand what the side plot have to do with much of anything. And like you said, when we got the Stamets and Adira working on the algorithm to figure out, and he had Saru trying to like zone in on the sound. That was all cool. I was like, okay, cool, nice. This is interesting.
This is like Star Trek. This is like Star Trek stuff. Let's do it. And then
we get this other story. I'm like, I don't care about this other shit. Like, why are we throwing this in here?
And then Adira's like, Stamets is like, Adira can make this really cool algorithm. And instead of making the algorithm, they're playing cello and piano the entire time they're sitting, hanging out together. I'm just like, what? What are they? And every time they talk about the algorithm, it's like, oh, the algorithm's got to do its work. And I'm like, what? The algorithm's going to take longer to do the work than creating the algorithm itself. What?
Don't you do any work?
I don't know.
Just let the computer do the work. In the cello duet thing between Adira and Stamets, that didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. It's very Star Trek for them to have a segment where they play old instruments. It's just that they were supposed to be working on this algorithm thing, and they're just like waiting for it to do whatever it's doing, I guess, the entire episode, which is kind of like boring. But it was nice seeing them like do Star Trek-y things, like play instruments together, and character moments. Like we actually got to see Stamets do something that wasn't work for once. Like he plays the piano. Right. Okay, that's something new we're learning about the character. Yeah, we did not know that.
It's good to have character development. This is what we've been dying for. It's just unfortunately all this character development happened in an episode that didn't move the plot forward at all.
Right, exactly.
And so it's we got what we wanted, an ensemble episode, but it just didn't do anything for the plot.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest feeling is like I didn't feel it moved the plot forward enough. And even by the end of the episode, they were still waiting for the algorithm to finish up when Adira was burning the midnight oil.
Yeah, and so and I'm still, like I said earlier, is Michael Burnham going to take the fall for Detmer taking the ship out and shooting the ship?
Obviously there'll be some fallout with Admiral Vance. It'll be like, Saru, you knucklehead.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, is Saru going to take the heat for it? Is he going to get demoted instead of,
he'll always get to take the heat.
We'll demote Saru instead of killing him.
Yeah, it didn't do anything for me, to tell you the truth. It just was a little bit like, meh, whatever. It wasn't that interesting.
It was just the card. It wasn't awful. It wasn't great. It was okay.
Mostly to me, it was Book's Planet. I really didn't give two shits about. Why do we have to see? And I know it was just to introduce Osira and give her like her intro scene.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, we'll see more. Maybe we'll get more of a
I just hope they don't
evil.
I just hope they don't kill her this season. Like, if they just introduce her and kill her this season, they'll have to come up with a new big bad for next season. I mean, just tease her, and then maybe her threat will come to fruition next season. Like, I would be perfectly happy, and if they just set up Adira in this episode, and not Adira, I'm sorry, Osira in this episode, and then don't mention her till next season. That would be fine.
Yeah.
Like, set up a plot point for next season. That's good. If that's all they're doing with it, fine. This is, I guess a fine episode to do on. But if they're going to tie her in and make her a bigger part of the season, I'll be a little bit annoyed because there's still so much they need to do. They got to get the spore drive throughout the Federation. We got to figure out what's up with Georgia. We got to figure out what's up with the burn. We got to, I don't know. There's lots of things they've got to tie up, and just adding more stuff just seems like it's going to convolute things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And we still got to make a non-human interface for the spore drive so that other ships can use it. Like, they mentioned this, so I assume it's going to come up later. I hope
sooner or later. Yeah, I mean, we still got. I mean, they could just wrap this stuff up really quick too. They'd be like, "Oh, and the whole fleet at the very end has the spore drive, and they all jump to Discovery's rescue." I mean, I could see that happening.
Yeah, probably. No Jet Reno either this episode.
Yeah, Jet Reno wasn't show that didn't show up.
Man,
So
we need Jet Reno breaking his balls for like pretending to be Adira's dad.
you ain't his father. You ain't my daddy.
You ain't her. You ain't their father.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a terrible episode. It just was like, nah. It just didn't do anything for me. So that's just how I felt about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not Shades of Grey.
Yeah, it's not Shades of Grey. Yeah, exactly. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you know. I just had higher hopes seeing Jonathan Frakes' name as director, you know?
Yeah, they kind of gave him like he had a lot to do in this episode, that's for sure. But I didn't feel like that action sequence. I really the going down the planet was kind of like lackluster because we've seen so many awesome sceneries in Discovery, and this is like besides the CGI locusts that've been put into it. It was just a little like, okay, so there's these floaty jellyfishes.
Yeah, I guess. I still don't understand the book Burnham relationship thing. It's like they're just so hard into each other right now, and they just never even attempted to be into each other the entire year they were together all the time. Like, seriously? I don't know. It's just bizarre. Honestly,
but after, Ash Tyler, I think... I would think that Burnham's a little guarded. I could see that happening. I could be like, yeah, I fell for a guy before, and he was a giant asshole, half Klingon,
had 2 dicks. It was great.
I don't know. So
yeah, I don't know. I hope next episode's better. Cronenberg's gonna be in it, so I'm super excited for that.
That'll be fun. It will be fun for sure.
So hopefully we'll resolve Giorgio's plot next episode so we can move along with the Byrne plot the episode after that.
Yeah, so I mean that's episode 9 with Giorgio, and then that gives us what?
10, 11, 12, 13, so 4 more?
4 more episodes, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, hopefully they'll figure it out for the season. All right, guys. Yes. Well, if there's anything else that you want us to talk about or think that we're missing in our discussion about Star Trek Discovery, please let us know. You can hit us up at Synthaholics at yahoo.com. That's our email. You can also talk to us on our Facebook group page, Facebook.com/groups/Synthaholics. Or you can get us up at Twitter. Twitter handle is Synthaholic Duo. We'd love to hear from you either way. And if the show is something to support, please go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Synthaholics. All right, Dave. We'll find out what's wrong with Giorgio next week.
Hopefully we'll find out what's happened next week. And just a quick bit of housekeeping before we do go. We'll be taking the last 2 weeks of December off so that we can observe Christmas, since we've been recording on Thursdays. That'll put us into Christmas Eve and Christmas, and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So... we'll be. They
both fall on our recording days, so unfortunately, and we're just going to take it off, guys. Honestly, show's free. We work hard. We're going to take a couple of days off, a couple of weeks off for that. So we'll just have to recap all the episodes in one episode.
Yeah, or we can just still do one in each, depending on how we feel. It might be easier just to recap them all at once and maybe have more complete feelings, because it's just them. I understand why they drip feed these episodes out, but I think also with the show being a serialized, I feel like a lot of the gripes we'd have and a lot of the complaints we'd have would probably be solved if we just watched all at once.
Watch the whole thing. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like a lot of our gripes just kind of like are just because
it's yeah, it's because we don't get the full picture, and we get killed. Be like, oh, what about this? What? Why aren't we getting this? Why aren't we getting? And then we get it next week, and then it's different, but it's not how we thought it was going to be. And then, if we were reviewing the whole season, it would be a totally different thing.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully, doing the 3 episodes back to back might give us a lot more insight, and hopefully give us a more positive outlook on just doing 3 episodes at once. So. Should be good. So we'll be releasing this episode, and then 2 more this month, and then we'll have a 2-week break. So
2-week break, exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Until next week, You know what to do. Live long and prosper, one and all.
Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
There it goes.
There's some floating jellyfishes on my balls.
Oh, are they floating if they're on your balls, though?
They're floating my balls away.
Oh, no. You get detachable ball. Oh, you're from Cyberpunk. You've got the detachable private parts. That makes sense.
Detachable. Did you ever hear that song, Detachable Penis?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you never? Oh, that was a big song in the 90s. Not big song, but...
Detachable penis. One of the people who got to play Cyberpunk early says they did a quest and they got a bat with a dildo on the end of it.
God. Great.
as a weapon.
That's funny. Yeah, there's a detachable penis song. I'm just trying to look it up because it was pretty funny.
And Cyberpunk.
It's not a great song, but it's just a song.
Yeah.